Lights, camera, action, and welcome back to Soundtrack Collector. I'm your host, Christopher Spencer, author of Film and Television Scores 1950 to 1979, a critical survey by genre. What do you get when you mix hard-hitting funk, righteous rebellion, and low-budget grit? You get Blaxploitation, the boldest, baddest, most sonically charged genre of American cinema to ever hit the grindhouse. Blaxploitation exploded in the early 1970s. There were movies made by black filmmakers, often for black audiences, starring black heroes who weren't just sidekicks or stereotypes, they were the center of the action. They took on dirty cops, drug lords, pimps, and the man himself, all while oozing style, attitude, and political edge. Now sure, these films had shootouts, streetwise slang, and some seriously questionable fashion choices, but the real power, that came from the soundtracks. This was a new era of film scoring. Funk, soul, and jazz weren't just background music. They were the mood, the momentum, the message. Soundtracks by legends like Isaac Hayes, Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye, Roy Ayers, and James Brown didn't just accompany these films, they elevated them. Sometimes the music outlived the movie entirely. From Shaft to Superfly, Coffee to the Mac, these albums laid the groundwork for hip-hop, reshaped TV action scores, and turned theaters into dance floors. And they gave black artists a powerful new stage for protest, pride, and pure groove. Today we're taking a deep dive into the best, the funkiest soundtracks from the Blaxploitation era. The classics, the deep cuts, the game changers. So tighten your bell bottoms and crank the wah-wah pedal. This is Soundtrack Collector, and this is the sound of the revolution being televised. Before Shaft strutted onto the scene with his leather trench coat and hi-hat swagger, Hollywood didn't know what to do with funk. Or with black characters, frankly. For decades, black actors were either comic relief, background filler, or painfully patronizing friends of the family. In the 1960s, things started to shift. Films like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner sort of tiptoed toward inclusion. But it took a shift in sound to really shake things up. Enter Quincy Jones, who I've featured on this channel before. Before the genre even had a name, Q was laying the foundation. In the early 1960s, he brought jazz, soul, bossa nova, and funk into Hollywood scoring. His work on films like The Pawnbroker, Mirage, and The Deadly Affair proved you could swing and sweat at the same time. Then came In the Heat of the Night in 1967. Not a blaxploitation film per se, but it had the DNA. A black lead in Sidney Poitier, a raw and funky Ray Charles theme, and Jones scoring that melded blues, scat, wah-wah guitars, and orchestral tension. Tracks like Peep Freak Patrol Car and Where Whitey Ain't Around hinted at what was coming. Jones kept building that sound with The Lost Man and They Call Me Mr. Tibbs in 1970. Funky clavinets, chanting kids, wah-wah guitars, and Nate Turner vocals. The Tibbs theme, cinematic funk's Patient Zero. Shaft and Enter the Dragon owe it a nod, if not a royalty check. Now let's talk Revolution. 1971. Independent filmmaking pioneer Melvin Van Peebles drops Sweet Sweetback's badass song. Writer, director, composer, star, distributor. The man did everything but run the projector. To dodge the union, he told the industry it was a porno. It wasn't. It was a political Molotov cocktail. And the soundtrack? Wild. Rare Soul and a young Earth, Wind, and Fire churn out a chaotic, exhilarating mix of dialogue, funk, and fury. Tracks like Sweetback, Getting It Uptight, defied convention, rhythm, even grammar. And they worked. Hollywood noticed. Quickly. Enter Shaft, directed by Gordon Parks, with Isaac Hayes bringing the heat. The double album is a beast. The immortal theme song, Bumpy's Lament, the smooth lounge vibe of Cafe Reggio's, and the 19-minute jam, Do Your Thing. Hayes won an Oscar and made history. Fog machine mishap and all. Boom, Blaxploitation was born. Before Sweetback and Shaft made headlines, others were laying the groundwork. Uptight from 1968, scored by Booker T and the MGs, delivered gospel-tinged organ grooves. Not revolutionary, but definitely soul deep. Cotton Comes to Harlem, 1970, based on the Chester Himes novel, set the visual and sonic blueprint. Galt McDermott, yes, the hair guy, brought a bold, funky patchwork of big band, gospel, and flower power. He wasn't black, but damn, he was in the zone. Let's talk about the big three. Isaac Hayes followed up Shaft with Truck Turner and Three Tough Guys. He starred in both and delivered big cinematic grooves. Run Fay Run later popped up in Kill Bill. And Pursuit of the Pimp Mobile? Come on, that title alone deserves a standing ovation. Curtis Mayfield, he dropped the mic with Superfly in 1972. Songs like Pusher Man, Freddy's Dad, and Little Child Runnin' Wild didn't just compliment the film, they commented on it. Sharp character studies set to funk and soul. Mayfield's score didn't ride shotgun, it drove the damn car. Who can forget Marvin Gaye? He slid in with Trouble Man. Between What's Going On and Let's Get It On, he crafted a mostly instrumental score mixing jazz, funk, and mood. T Plays It Cool starts like Bernard Herrmann and lands like Isaac Hayes. Effortless, cinematic, unforgettable. Now, if Isaac Hayes was the king of Blaxploitation soundtracks, then Pam Grier became the genre's queen. Her films, blistering. Their soundtracks, even hotter. All long before Tarantino recruited her for his crime drama Jackie Brown. While she made several blaxploitation and exploitation movies for grindhouse cinemas in the 1970s, a couple of them really stand out for fantastic soundtracks. Take Foxy Brown, 1974, by Willie Hutch, featuring the relentless The Chase, and seductive Give Me Some of That Good Old Love. Hutch also delivered The Mac in 1973, full of soulful struts and blazing rhythms. Brothers Gonna Work It Out still bangs. Roy Ayers' Coffee is another Pam Grier vehicle. High energy, Latin jazz funk. King George may be the funkiest pimp theme ever. Vibraphones never hit harder. Although Pam Grier didn't star in the next one, it's worth mentioning Cleopatra Jones, which brought us Joe Simon and Millie Jackson under J.J. Johnson's guidance. That jazz legend's Willie Dynamite score is also criminally overlooked. Tabla, harmonicas, juice harp, and funk you can taste. Johnson also gave us Across 110th Street with Bobby Womack's unforgettable theme. Sweeping strings, gritty lyrics, one of the genre's absolute pinnacles. But back to Shaft. There were a few Shaft movies that came out in the 70s, and at least another one had a great score. Johnny Pate's Shaft in Africa, a funk travelogue basically, and it's a must-have. Are You Man Enough by the Four Tops is a full-blown anthem. His Brother on the Run is another movie that delivers killer wah-wah chases and smoky love themes. Now let's not forget about the godfather of soul, James Brown. He contributed at least a couple, Black Caesar and Slaughter's Big Ripoff. Down and Out in New York City is a top-tier Brown track, even if the rest leans more vibe than structure. It is worth noting that James Brown's stellar studio album, The Payback, was intended to be a soundtrack at one point. And when you listen to it now, it feels like the long-lost blaxploitation masterpiece. Now, Marvin Gaye wasn't the only Motown veteran who scored a blaxploitation film. Take Edwin Starr's Hell Up in Harlem. It may have flown under the radar, but tracks like Easin' In are unforgettable and have actually been sampled a hell of a lot in hip-hop. Don Julian's Savage and the unreleased Shorty the Pimp are raw, gritty entries with attitude and bite. Shorty especially is a fascinating time capsule of lounge funk fusion. Luce de Jesus' Friday Foster brings the grit and groove. Monk Higgins and Alex Brown's Sheba Baby, total gem. Barbara Mason shines on both vocals and hooks. Jack Conrad's The Monkey Hustle throws in some disco vibes without losing the funk. And Disco Godfather, more flash than fire, but Rudy Ray Moore brings the wild energy. Curtis Mayfield returned with Short Eyes, in 1977. It's not Superfly level, but really close. Raw, tense, and lyrically razor sharp. Dennis Coffey's Black Belt Jones merges karate kicks and Detroit funk, funky, furious, and often psychedelic. It's worth noting that the Blaxploitation genre bled into the martial arts movies of that era. Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon is technically a martial arts flick, but listen to Lalo Schifrin's soundtrack, it's pure Blaxploitation energy. Wah-wah guitars, electric organs, funky breakdowns. Jim Kelly teaming up with Bruce, that's genre fusion in its purest form. Schifrin's theme lives on in Tarantino, in hip-hop, and every dojo disco playlist. Blaxploitation soundtracks did more than just sell records. They changed the game. These weren't just film scores, they were pop cultural detonations. They broke racial barriers, elevated black artistry, and rewrote the rules of what a movie score could be. These soundtracks didn't just sit in the background, they strutted to the front. They told you who was the boss, who was hurting, who was out for revenge. They didn't whisper, they wailed. From Shaft to Superfly, Sweetback to Sheba, the funk lives on. You hear it in Tarantino, you hear it in the Wu-Tang Clan. You hear it every time someone scratches a vintage groove and a wah guitar screams back in defiance. To quote James Brown, like it is, like it was. If you dug this deep dive into Blaxploitation soundtracks, drop a comment with your favorite score or your favorite forgotten gem. And be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because here at Soundtrack Collector, we don't just play the hits, we celebrate the scores that defined a revolution. Coming up next on Soundtrack Collector is my top 15 of Michael Giacchino movie scores. You know his work even if you don't know his name. Be sure to tune in. In the meantime, keep listening to great movie soundtracks.